The word pet makes you think of cats, dogs, parrots, and sometimes even snakes. But what you don't think of are bizarre wild animals such as alligators, bears, tigers, and so on. Not only is it incredibly difficult to get a license for keeping such animals, it's still a dangerous task to pull off even for trained professionals, as we often hear of experiences gone wrong. However, these limitations don't exist for celebrities, as they have the money and means to get anything that they want as a pet, and that's the topic for today's video. We're going to take a look at the top 10 most bizarre animals that are owned by celebrities. But before we start, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you will never miss a video again. Number 10. George Clooney and his pig. Everyone knows George Clooney as he dominated the box office in his peak days and was known as nothing short of a sex symbol. What many people don't know about him, though, is that he had a pet pig that he always kept close to him at his house. You certainly don't hear this very often, especially from people who live a life of glamour. And it's also rumoured that 2 of his relationships were torn apart due to the pig. After 18 years of being under George's care, the pig unfortunately passed away sometime in 2006. Number 9. Mike Tyson and his tiger. Let's be honest, we just can't see Mike Tyson with normal pets unless the dog happened to be as tall as a giant lion. So naturally, Mike Tyson is known to have had a tiger throughout his life as a pet. While we do generally have pictures of a young Mike Tyson with his tiger on the internet, you might recognize her from something more familiar. Remember the movie The Hangover, in which the protagonist trio wakes up with a tiger in their hotel room? That tiger belongs to none other than Mike Tyson. Called Kenya, she stayed with Mike for 16 years until she was just too old and had to be sent off. Mike joked that she bit someone's arm off too, which might even be true. Number 8. Hugh Hefner and his llama. Hugh Hefner is a divisive personality, as millions appreciate his ventures as the owner of the Playboy Mansion, while others may consider it something questionable due to the parties it has seen in his lifetime. But one thing people don't know about is that he had a zoo license for his mansion, which allowed him to keep many different types of animals. The most bizarre animals that he kept happened to be a llama, and that was the animal Hugh seemed most attached to, as he would take it around for walks and spend a good amount of time with it. Unfortunately, the llama was found dead one day after an intense night of partying, and it was never disclosed how it happened. Before we continue with a celebrity who kept donkeys as her pets, make sure that you like this video to fully support us. Number 7. Reese Witherspoon and her donkeys. We've seen celebrities keep many bizarre animals as pets, but they are usually majestic wild animals that we know and love. However, Reese Witherspoon took things to the next level and apparently keeps 2 pet donkeys called Honky and Tonky. Naturally, her neighbours often find themselves annoyed at the fact she keeps donkeys, especially since they are quite loud when they speak. But that never allowed Reese from keeping her favourite pets on her property. She considers them docile and sweet, claiming to call them badon kadonks out of admiration. Number 6. Frida Kahlo and her deer. Frida Kahlo is one of the most influential female figures in history and is one of the most famous painters of all time. One noticeable pattern in some of her paintings was the fact that she was fond of the deer, as we would often see the animal be featured in some shape or form, which includes one of her most famous works, The Wounded Deer, which people believe is inspired by her own pet deer. The reason behind that was apparently the fact that she felt a deep connection with this adorable animal. While she kept a bunch of different animals as pets over her lifetime, it's safe to say that she must have felt the closest to her pet deer, which she has been photographed with at times. Number 5. Paris Hilton and her Kinkajou. Paris Hilton has been known to have a fondness for dogs, but the showbiz world was surprised to see her with the tropical rainforest animal, Kinkajou. She treated it as a pet and kept it with her almost everywhere she went, calling it Baby Love. Unfortunately, in 2006, Paris got bitten by the animal and had to go to a hospital at 5 a.m. where she got treated for bleeding and was given a tetanus shot. It's hard to say whether she got rid of the Kinkajou or not, but she certainly didn't carry it around with her everywhere again. Number 4. Nicole Kidman and her alpacas. Nicole Kidman and her husband Keith Urban own a huge farm in Tennessee, which isn't a surprise considering how much of a conventional happy family she seems to be a part of. While the farm has several animals, Nicole's enthusiasm mainly seems to be directed towards her alpacas, as she regularly takes them on walks and spends time with them. If there's anyone we can see happily take care of alpacas in the industry, it's Nicole, thanks to her kind demeanor. Number 3. Nicolas Cage and his king cobras. I guess if you asked us who keeps king cobras in Hollywood, our answer would either be Nicolas Cage or Michael Cera. Turns out Nicolas Cage does keep 2 albino king cobras, which is pretty bizarre, even for his standards. He named them Moby and Sheba, but for some reason did not get their venom removed. He kept anti-venom close to him at all times in case he ever got bit by them. But unfortunately, his neighbours weren't happy knowing that he has venomous snakes at his house, so he gave them away to a local zoo. He sure likes living dangerously, since he once openly stated that the cobras constantly tried to kill him. Number 2. Dan Bilzerian and his goat. Dan Bilzerian can be best described as infamous, as there's hardly anything not controversial about him whenever he is brought up. And among many activities that he shows off to the world, he also spends some time with animals. When you hear animals and Dan Bilzerian in the same sentence, I'm sure you're expecting lions and alligators, but for some reason he just has a bunch of goats and loves taking them on walks and keeping them close to him as a part of his general lifestyle. He was originally gifted only 1 goat, but then he liked it so much that he got more over time. This is perhaps the only thing known about his life that cannot be taken negatively by anyone at all who doesn't love seeing compassion towards animals. Number 1. Salvador Dali and his anteater. Salvador Dali was fond of all different kinds of strange and exotic pets, and the most bizarre addition to his collection was his pet anteater. Similar to Frida Kahlo's admiration for her deer, Salvador Dali also included his anteater as an inspiration to some of his paintings, which you may have already seen without knowing the reason behind it, considering the fact Salvador Dali is one of the greatest painters in history. The other most notable animal that he kept as a pet was an ocelot, which is almost as bizarre for a house pet as an anteater. And that concludes our list of the top 10 bizarre animals owned by celebrities. We sure don't recommend keeping some of the pets mentioned on our list, but several of them are surprisingly harmless if you can find your way around to their good sides. As usual, if you like the video, don't forget to leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and press the bell icon for instant updates for our future videos. We'll see you next time.